I've got a bunch of these axe blocks to make for an upcoming spoon carving course that I'm running, so I thought I would bring you along and show you how I make them. So these were all cut from a reject log of silky oak that I had. As you can see, they've got some big knots in them, so they weren't good for much else. This is my favourite T-handle auger. It's a gauge pattern or Cook's pattern auger, which isn't that important, but it is handy for end grain because they cut a little better in all directions. And then the only other tools you'll need is an axe and a small saw. I've got a bit of tape on there so that all of my holes end up the same depth. And it's totally not necessary to use a bevel gauge here, but I like to use one just to check for consistency. You'll get a handle on it eventually and you'll end up just choosing the right angle by eye. You can see with a sharp auger it really doesn't take too long. And if you don't have one of these T-augers, you can use a spade bit and an electric drill, or just anything that you can think of to bore a good size hole. It really doesn't matter. If you're wondering how to sharpen these, I'll have to make a video on it sometime, but basically I use the same diamond honing rods that I use for my pole lathe hooks. So for the legs, I'm just going to take any old scrap piece of wood that's about the right length. This one is probably one of the nastiest logs that I have lying around, so I'm going to need to make some gluts to get it split up. And I'm doing this all on the ground so that you can see that you don't need to have an axe block to make an axe block. So I try to use up my crappiest logs for stuff like this. I know I'm probably not going to carve any spoons from here. If you've got access to round branches that are about the right diameter, that would be much easier, but I didn't have any, so I've just split my legs out of a larger block of a larger log. You can be pretty rough with how you shape these, it really doesn't matter. The whole idea behind what we're doing here is that we're going to aggressively hammer this into the hole, so the actual shape of it is not so important, just you want to get a good interference fit. And I just like to orient my legs so that if there's any natural curve in the branch, it's going to splay outwards to give the block some more stability. Alright, so here I'm just leveling off the other legs to the length of the shortest one. So I thought I would talk for a bit about how to decide the height of your block. So with the one that we just watched me make, I had one leg that was too short, so I just trimmed the other two legs to the same size as that one, level with the ground. So I've ended up with a block that's a little bit shorter, but that's actually fine for me because these are for my courses. There's going to be people of various heights who need to use them, so I actually want a bit of variety. But the way that I decide it when I'm making one for myself, when I stand upright with my arm let down, I want my knuckles to be grazing the top of the block just about. And the way you do that when you've got it upside down, like when we were trimming the legs, is when these are still over long, you just sidle up to it like this, get your pencil and mark, just like this, say, okay, that's where my knuckles are, same here, I'm just going to have to do it on this one. And then you trim all of those three with a saw and you get a block that's just right, without having to do any kind of measuring or anything. So thanks for watching. This is how I make my axe blocks. They're not fancy. There's a few things you can do to make them have a bit more functionality, like adding a step or a scallop like this one. But just to get you started, these are very easy to make. And as you can see, you don't need a block to make a block, and you don't need any expensive tools either.